Good morning. Let's take a look at yesterday, and it's a good example in managing a session as a whole rather than the individual trade as it is. So let me tell you what I'm on about. A few bankerish bets yesterday starred, the ones which stood out. I'm already ruining not laying Real Madrid 2-0 up at half time against Talavera. That would have been rather nice. The first play of the day yesterday was a chance on Celta Vigo. This is another extremely good example of trading over betting. We had a opening goal for Albacete. Now, if you took the chance on Celta Vigo, the only real angle in would have been the match odds market. The +1 for Celta Vigo was a little bit skinny relative to the insurance premium paid to cover the 0-1 after half time. Even with Julio Iglesias, they got the job done. Fantastic stuff. 1-1, that's your first cash out opportunity, and the green was reasonable enough there. But if you stayed in, old Julio Iglesias turning up, anything to stop him singing. 1-2, 75th minute, you're out. Because I did warn you in the Telegram, the draw is in play. Vallejo getting the 2-2. And guess who eventually won the tie? Albacete. So this is a wonderful example of what trading is all about. It's not what happens at the end of the match, that 2-2. It's what happens in play that counts. You lock it in here. I was looking at an 85 quid profit, I think it was, on Celta Vigo. That dropped down to about 67 or even 58, something like that. I'll have to check the green screen. But that's, you're out. Okay. How many times have been caught? Slough, 1-1. Viborg turning out, what was it, a 2-3 into a 3-3 at the very end of the match. Lock it in. Had you locked it in, that for me was a rather juicy £68. Now that's your foundation for the day. That's your profit. What you can do is you're going to be a little more aggressive now because you've got a full stake covered if you want to try and pull out even more out of the market on this particular session. So we're dealing with today as a unique session in and of itself. This is the foundation to work with, this profit, which I hoped you locked in, because look at the end result. Again, another prime example of why trading is so much better than punting. Young boys and grasshoppers, obviously, well, they were starred because I checked it on paper. They were looking great in the standings. They were looking great. I suppose the cloud hanging over us, 29, 30, 31, 32, they could have been third with a win yesterday. The cloud hanging over us was a head-to-head 3-3 between these two. It could signal the fact that grasshoppers like playing young boys. You just never know. You can see there that 3-3 previously. But it's all about how the match eventuated. I got involved in the third minute, thinking 87 minutes. No panic, Mr. Manring. And you can get the young boys at over evens to put that 2.34. Well worth pursuing. But no, you can never legislate for penalties, I'm afraid. So 0-2 it was. Did I panic? No. I did what's called averaging. So what I did effectively there was I backed young boys again for £5 stake. I laid grasshoppers for £5 stake as liability. That way, if we get the next goal scored by the young boys, that's your out if you're not liking how this game is progressing. Because it's not going to expectation. The grasshoppers have had trouble scoring that second goal of late. Now they've got 2 goals in the bag. They scored 3 the last time these two met. It could be heartache for the young boys this evening or yesterday evening. We've got Sanchez's goal. I'm not sure if I showed you on Telegram the profit at that point. There it was. Okay, good stuff. So this is what we were facing at 1-2. I think it was. No, this was at 2-3. Sorry. I don't know if I passed on the 1-2 for you. I didn't. But at the 1-2, you'd have got yourself a £4.53 loss here because you averaged up. Now, if you're feeling a bit squeamish about a trade like this because the liabilities is increasing and increasing and increasing on Grasshopper Zurich, and on paper, the young boys are expected to win, but you've got to play the hand you're dealt with on the night. Could just be the young boys are underperforming at home. Grasshoppers could just be a bogey side for them in their last head-to-head, where they led on 3 separate occasions, the Grasshoppers of Zurich. So this was at the 0-2, backing young boys for £5 at 5.2, laying Grasshoppers at 1.64. That was at 0-2. At 1-2, you had your £4.53. I didn't take the screenshot, alas, but you had a £4.53 loss. Laying over 1.5 goals at 1.05 cost you very little. So you would have got out of here with a £5 red screen and just said, sorry, lads, bank a bet, yes, but you're just not performing. Okay, time to exit. Now, in hindsight, of course, that would have been the wonderful choice because, Clemente turning up, making it 1-3 at half time. So, I know I'm a sucker or a glutton for punishment. I backed the young boys again for £5 at 9.6. I laid Grasshoppers again, 1.41 for a £5 liability. My liability on Grasshoppers is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. This was at 2-3. This was not at 1-3. So this at 1-3, you've got this facing, but the young boys' profit is increasing. And if we can just get to that draw, we can get out of jail. So averaging up twice now in the expectation or the hope that the young boys would make it 2-3. And you can stick Bedia on your Christmas card list, substituted on the 46th minute, coming up with the 2-3. Now that is where we enter here. Let's take a look. This was how things looked at 2-3. Okay. Now that is pretty much when you're playing £40 stakes, that's a third of liability or thereabouts. I would get out, as I recommended you to do. Why? We'll come to that later. Exit. That liability is getting far too dangerously high. It could ruin all of the good work you've done with Celta Vigo. £61 liability on Zurich. Now at 2-3, £14. So you're getting out of here with about a £16 loss, which is far, far more tolerable than that. And indeed, you'd have got out of the day with a break even on this play as well. Let me introduce Luzern and Basel. Now, if you read your research yesterday, in the last 13 matches for Luzern, at least one team has scored at least 2 goals. In the last 8 home matches, Luzern have scored. Therefore, 1-2, 2-1, anybody? You don't need to be Wayne Rooney, football genius, to dig that scoreline out. You could have gone over 2.5 goals. You could have gone both teams to score at half-time. You've got Shaqiri to thank for keeping it 0-0 at half-time. I think he's the ex-Arsenal man. So 0-0 at half-time. I backed 1-2 and 2-1. As you can see here, back 1-2 and 2-1 at half-time. Small liability. Well worth a punt. Odds of 16 and 13. Which one came in? The one at 13s came in. I cashed out. In fact, I could have taken that 55 quid. But I cashed out early. And you'll see why. The goals started flowing second half. Now, remember that loss on the young boys earlier on? Do you remember that? Here it is. £14.44 loss on the young boys earlier on. Now, we've got a £14.93 profit here. This negates this, and it also locks in, if I can find it, this. So you'll come out of the day with a 68 quid profit, saying to yourself, this hasn't worked. Take the hit, but that hit will be compensated for by this profit. That's playing the session as a whole, getting a net profit from the session itself. Had you continued on looking for the 1-2, because we only had a £9 liability, Basel did score, but they scored a little bit too early, about the 75th, 76th minute. That i.e., there's another 15 minutes to go for the possibility of a 1-3 or a 2-2. Now that's even better. That will emphatically negate that and still put a cherry on top. So I would recommend to member, indeed I did, to cash out. Boom. You've locked that in now. You've covered your loss here rather than that £60 liability there. And you've got a little cherry on top, 10 quid extra to add on to your 68 from Celta Vigo, making this a really profitable evening. Could have been even better. This ended 1-2. That could have been a 55 quid profit there. So a fascinating night of managing your positions yesterday. On to today's trading angles, and I don't have any for you. It is our old pal, the Europa or UEFA Conference League. Oh boy. Before all that, we can have a quick look at Reading and Luton. I don't think I did the research for you today, but this is the Reading and Luton match. I don't know the odds. I can't remember the odds. But let's see if we can decipher who we think will be the market leader here. 2 consecutive defeats for Reading at the moment, but if you look at the home form, prior to that, 1, 2, 3, 4 wins and 3 draws. Really good stuff. And then they lose to Peterborough. You don't know whether it was a red card affected match or not. Very, very late. Well, no, not late. 68th minute winner for Peterborough. But prior to that, keeping sides from scoring that second goal. Can we rely on that pattern today for Reading? First time they've conceded 2 goals since the 16th of August at home. Can we rely on them being ultra defensive again today? If we can, that'll be a good indicator of who we should be favouring. But enter Luton Town on 3 consecutive score draws. Could be competitive today, couldn't they? Away from home, a couple of wins against Northampton and Stockport. We'll need to look at these. Where are they in the table? So, in order to get a good gauge, Reading have scored in the last 9 at home, so that's something for you to take into this match if you're going to play. And it's 18th against 7th. So we've got a form side in Luton Town who only seem to lose away to the top 8, notably. So immediately scoring 3 or 2 goals at least against 17th and lower away from home, you're thinking to yourself, Reading might be in a spot of bother today. But they do keep sides from scoring that second goal, albeit 9th and 10th, and they're playing 7th today. Conceded 2 against them. Conceded against Barnsley as well. That little cluster there is where Luton Town are. 1-0 wins against Stevenage and Northampton suggests Reading might be liable if leading. Again, 3 1-0 wins out of 4. Given that 2-goal habit for Luton away, I would suspect Luton Town to be the favourites today. I wonder if I'm right or not. Goal times could give you an indicator of getting in, and you can see there's a very strong second half scoring bias. Looks to be substitutions coming on 60th minute onwards, and that's mirrored by Luton Town. So you might see some late action, particularly if Luton need a goal late on. 75th minute onwards, they seem to be emphatic. 7 out of 10 second half goals scored in the last 15 minutes. So we've got some real angles there. And notably, 2.4 the favourite. So the market's not as clear as I am. Now, do you see that challenge table form as value? Because it's quite clearly indicated that Luton, against teams around Reading in the league, scoring 2 goals at least, home and away. So I wonder if that's going to prove the value Luton Town today. Reading might be gettable, but 2.4 the favourite tells you both teams are expected to perform. The Europa Conference League is very, very little I can offer you, I'm afraid. We can have a quick look through. AZ Alkmaar at home, Troy Parrott's boys. Celta against Shelbourne. Shelbourne might be a little bit more competitive. They were playing Crystal Palace last time. KUPS really shouldn't be landing a blow away at Crystal Palace, that's for sure. So maybe that's the first obvious banker of the day. Noah's going to be parking the Ark again. Elsewhere, Rayo Vallecano against Drita. Drita from Kosovo, I believe. Rayo Vallecano, not one of the standing lights in Spain. So watching brief on that one. Sparta Prague against Aberdeen. Well, the Scottish sides have been gettable on their travels, haven't they? Strasbourg, top 4, top 5 in French League. Breidablik, I think, from Iceland. So certainly will get my attention there. The Cup in the Netherlands and in Portugal and in Spain, it's play it as you see it, basically. Like Celta Vigo yesterday, that was played only because of the in-play stats was so emphatic. That's the only real way to play that today. We've got a few odds-ons to stand out, like Volendam, Sporting Lisbon away from home to Santa Clara. This is a La Liga fixture, Primeira Liga fixture. Porto, top of the tree in Portugal. I wonder if they're up for the Cup. And a couple of odds-ons away from home. Real Betis, we know very well. If they're competitive, they'll be like Celta Vigo. Atletico Bilbao, you just don't know. Champions League has spoiled their season. No XG to offer you, so let's take a look through some of the apps for members to trial. And thank you very much for your comments. It'll take me a while just to collate all of these apps and give you some instructions, so please bear with me. It'll probably be sometime next week, but I'd love you to trial them. This is our usual trading predictor. You're used to the reports there. It is an excellent beta kit, but what I'd want a user to look at is the multi-match, the strategies, etc. And if any of these trading trackers and that work, and the calculator. So give it a good test drive. The XG Football Analyzer is getting updated daily and enhanced daily. I'm hoping that it will now give us some player XG stats, as well as XG home for the home side, XG away for the away side. So any tester of the XG, please look into that for me. Well, this was just in reaction to a member wanting not to get distracted. Focus on the footy. That's why you're here. So this was a way for him not to go off to YouTube and off to here and off to there, checking out your scrolling. Focus on the footy. That's why you're here. Okay. I'm distracted. Implied probability, etc. So have a good look at this one. This one has all the bells and whistles. It actually had Liverpool top of the league. So hopefully this is more accurate now. Have a read of the Premier League intelligence. Refresh the live analysis. Have a play around areas here. Is there any part of this which isn't working, etc. Set piece lab. Try it all out if you're willing to trial the football stats analyzer. Yet another football research assistant. Maybe it provides a different style of reporting to the other trading predictor. So anyone who wants to trial this one, give it a good go and let me know what you think about the reports. Ditto for this one. This has been updated recently as well. These are all placeholder matches. Give it a good trial. I think it's had some brilliant research. This is more for me to provide you with blog posts for the website. But if you find, for example, those of you who want to trial it, take a look at the analysis and punditry section. Does it meet your needs? More analysis here, but they've got an in-play device. Give that a go for me if you'd like to trial this one. Immediately check out matches live. Get a points-based system that will put you off trades, or it will add confidence to your trades. If you'd like to try this one, get in touch. In-depth analysis of a specific team, the Pitch Perfect analytics. 100% stats. 100% avoided the win. Oh dear. 100% conceded goals. Love it. Great for the trader. So I'll see members later on. If you want to try the apps, let me know in the comments.